صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, today I'm going to cover the 22nd juz. And before I start, I just want to mention that any errors or mistakes that I make is solely from me, and anything that you guys will benefit from, inshallah, is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, one of the things that I want all of us to think about is what makes us praiseworthy. On the Day of Judgment, when we are standing face to face with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all of our deeds and our actions are behind us. What will make us praiseworthy in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that it is our worship of Him. It is our ibadat. So in this juz, we're going to talk about kingdoms. So like the kingdom of Saba. Kingdom of Saba that was destroyed. Then we're going to talk about the kingdom of Sulaiman, which was a praiseworthy kingdom. And then we're going to talk about the king of all kings, Al-Fatir, the originator. Now, there's a small portion of Surah Ahzab inside the 22nd juz, so I'd like to just cover it really quickly. The only Sahaba that is mentioned inside the Quran is Zayd ibn Haritha, the adopted son of the Prophet ﷺ. Now, his story is really long, so I'm just going to try to cover it really quickly. Basically, Zayd was married to Zainab, and this was a match that was made by the Prophet ﷺ. Now, their marriage was kind of spotty, and there were like some issues, and the Prophet ﷺ tried to counsel them to the best of his ability. But in the end, Zayd said, this is not working for me, and I want a divorce. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the Prophet ﷺ to go and marry Zainab. And the Prophet ﷺ was a little reluctant of this, and he pushed it to the side. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then reprimands the Prophet ﷺ in Surah Ahzab, saying that, are you fearful of the people when you should be fearful of me? And now, these are some very harsh verses, and something that we should really think about. But the reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted the Prophet ﷺ to marry Zainab was to show the Muslims the difference between a biological son and the adopted son. They're not the same people. Yes, we shouldn't discriminate between our adopted son and between our biological son, but the same rulings don't apply. You are allowed to marry the ex-wife of your adopted son, while you're not allowed to marry the ex-wife of your biological son. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks a little bit about the munafiqun, and He paints a scene for us on the Day of Judgment, where the weak and the followers will go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while they're being questioned and say, Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it was these leaders, it was because of them that I committed wrong. So Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, forgive me and give those leaders a double punishment. And then the leaders will come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, Ya Allah, we are just humans. We are just like those weak people. It was their following in us that gave us the confidence to go and do what we did and say what we say. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will actually give double punishment to both of these groups. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala closes surah with some very powerful verses. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that when He offered the Quran to the mountains, to the sky, and to the earth, and they all refused. But we accepted it as humans. But humans, we are wrongful to ourselves. We are zalim to ourselves. And we are ignorant. And later on in Surah Fatir, we're going to go over the three groups of people, if there's time. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is indicating with these verses that if we don't educate ourselves and we remain ignorant, we won't be able to gain the barakah of the Quran. And what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means by educating ourselves is by actually pondering upon the verses of the Quran, actually reading the tafsir. Not everything is just given within the meaning. Sometimes we have to read between the lines and see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is meaning, but actually have to assume it. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we go on to Surah Saba, and Saba refers to a community. So Qawm Saba, the nation of Saba. And this is a Makki surah, and Makki surahs usually discuss worshipping one God, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has selected Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as one messenger, as the last messenger, and establishing the Day of Judgment. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses many examples to show us how the Day of Judgment will be, but one that's used in the surah is how the water revives a dead land. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to resurrect us on that day. So then we go on to false beliefs, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about the people, how they used to believe that if they worship the angels, the jinns, and other beings, they're going to come and they're going to intercede for you on the Day of Judgment. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala completely refutes this. And in fact, even in Ayatul Kursi that we all know and that we all should be reciting, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us no one can intercede for us on that day unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them permission to. And then we go to the kingdom of Sulaiman, and we see how he had control of the jinns, he could hear the animals, he controlled the wind, and he still ended up dying. He had a great kingdom, far greater than any of us can even fathom, yet he still ended up dying. And what we all should take from that story is that we all will die too, but in the end of the day, it's what we have accomplished in this world. When we are in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and He questions us, are we going to be able to say, Ya Allah, the reason you sent me to this world, my purpose in life, Ya Allah, I fulfilled it and I've come back to you? Or will we say, Ya Allah, you sent me to this world with a purpose, yet I was just worried about doing good for myself and I just wanted to take care for myself and, forget whatever else you destined for me. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes on and talks about the nation of Saba. Now, they were involved in agriculture, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that they had gardens and agriculture on their left and their right, and as far as the eye can see. And what we have to, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also talks about how they had so much fresh fruit that not a single fruit would be rotten. And when the people of Saba would walk from one corner of their property to the other, they just had to hold their baskets in their hands, and the trees would drop the fruits inside their basket without the people having to exert any force. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about their arrogance. They were a very rich nation, and they had many prophets sent to them, yet they still denied. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that He destroyed their agriculture within a fraction of the night. Now, why was arrogance highlighted in the story? There was a lot of things that were wrong, but arrogance was the one that was highlighted. Well, that's because the Quraysh is kind of like Saba. They're a great kingdom right now. They think they're the pinnacle of humanity. Quraysh, there's people coming from all over the world, coming to all the trade fairs, coming to do a pilgrimage and everything. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just trying to show them that arrogance toward the Prophet and the denial of the message that the Prophet ﷺ was sent to give you, it can lead your result to be just like the kingdom of Saba, which they were destroyed in the fraction of a night. Then we move on to Surah Fatir. And what does Fatir mean? I'm going to try to do this really quickly. It means the originator. So it means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has originated everything. Now, there were three groups of people, three groups of believing people. First one is zalim, the oppressors. And these are not people that oppress others. These are people that oppress themselves. And how do they do this? By not seeking knowledge and by just trying to stay within their own bubble. Then you have the middle group, which is they do a little bit and they're like the average person and they won't do too much, but they do seek out a little bit of knowledge. And then the third group is the one we should focus on. It is the people who accelerate in doing good things. Not only do they learn, but they help others understand. And when they understand to a great understanding. So we all have to strive to be like the third group and actually go out and learn and attend lectures and listen to tafsir and actually try to understand what the Quran is trying to say. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to be people of the Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to understand and be able to relate the information that's mentioned in the Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help the Muslim ummah wherever we're struggling. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of our ibadat in these last 10 nights